We are live. How's it going, Matt?
Going good. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm good, good. Yeah, we got a still of our old setup, the old cafe table set up behind us. So we're not fooling anybody, but this is a home live stream this this week. Uh, yeah. So Chris is incapacitated by the booster, a a vaccine booster. It was a little overwhelming. So we'll hopefully speedy recovery for Chris, and that's no fun. And it's very strange. It's like so individual. Everyone seems to. I guess we shouldn't we shouldn't start off the stream with the vaccine talk, but
We're
yeah,
gonna get shadow banned here.
right. Or get that little more for more information. Click here, popping up.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, it's not over yet. Uh, so yeah. So our we did a Hero Quest game last
Oh,
the board game, and it didn't go particularly well. Everyone was pretty distracted, and then we were pretty drunk by the. And then we're just like everyone's just randomly opening doors, and I'm trying to get the app. I'm trying to so that we didn't have to run a kind of a dungeon master or the controller of the evil
uh,
of the monsters. I was trying to use the app, and it works okay, but there's a few things that if you don't update them, there's no undo, so you can't go back. So if things have happened according to the app, what the app is thinking you did, then it gets a little out of control.
oh,
But
so you're
yeah,
like out of sync with the thing trying to kill you.
right, yeah. So they've tried to kill some, like, because it the AI kind of controls the monster's movement, and sometimes the monster like runs all the way across the board because it didn't detect that somebody was there. So yeah, it gets a little out of sync.
Oh,
But yeah, it's okay. There's a full voiceover for all of the text on the cards and things in the app, so that's pretty cool. But it doesn't have support for any Amazon devices, and there's no like PC way to have it on anything that runs Windows
mhm.
or um, Apple, the Apple OS, the Mac OS. So it's limited to just Android and iOS devices.
Mhm.
It's okay. I don't know. I'm still feeling kind of, yeah. I don't like having an app involved in a board game, like, and especially when it's required. Like, this wasn't required. We were just trying it out.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. We did Mansions of Madness with the app for a
Mm,
while.
hmm.
It was okay. That game has pretty decent just AI rules for how the monsters move and what have you.
Hmm.
So if we did screw something up with the app, it didn't really matter.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And wasn't Will was talking last week about Descent, the new version of Descent?
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
relies on an app. So yeah,
that one seems to really kind of be all in on the app part of it,
yeah,
which, yeah.
yeah. That's true. And yeah, that was the my biggest disappointment with the Return to Dark Tower is, yeah, the tower is controlled by a mobile device, so you have to have an
Mm.
app running on a mobile device, Bluetooth connected to the tower. There's no way to kind of analog, to set it up in a manual mode or anything. So yeah, that's a
Oh, so if it's not connected, you can't. There's not like you can hit buttons on it
yeah,
to
yeah.
do
There's
what it.
no
That, uh,
yeah, there's nothing outside. So they yeah, and I don't think there's anything they can do now. They can't go back because that would be like a total redesign. So there's no manual.
that's too
Uh,
bad.
yeah. So
That's going like too far
I
the
think
other way with it.
yeah, and especially what's going to happen when mobile devices like take a jump and they're something you wear in your ear or on your eye, like a clip to your glasses or something, and then that whole interface is gone. Then as soon as people move to another technology, it's going to be weird. You're going to like throw old mobile phones inside your board game boxes just so you have something
Yeah.
that will work. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's yeah. There's just they haven't decided yet, kind of what's going on, but yeah, I don't know. And the AR kind of stuff, the kind of augmented reality where you're seeing like an overlay on, through glasses of like a tabletop or whatever. I've seen people
Mm-hmm.
experimenting with that, especially for tabletop RPGs. And I don't know. That's it's weird because you're together, and the whole point of like being together and being social, it gets a little bit interfered with when everyone's just staring at some, heads up display
Yeah.
around the table. And I don't trust people to not like bring up their email or whatever. If they're wearing if they're wearing a visor,
Absolutely.
yeah, they're gonna be
Hey,
yeah chatting.
Alvaro.
Oh, Alvaro, how's it going? Good to see you. Yeah, so no Chris this
Also,
week. Yeah, what's up?
like Will, he can't stare at monitors for very long. So,
Mm,
like, there's going to be a whole group of people that when it does go to wearing AR glasses, they're just going to be like, I'm not doing this. It
yeah,
screws me up.
right, right. Yeah, and VR too. It's got like a time limit. Like there's maybe some people can endure it for multiple hours, but I think most people like 30 minutes and they're done with getting their inner ear screwed up with trying to
Hmm.
watch
Yeah.
motion controlled VR.
Yeah, we got the Oculus, and it was like, I think it's the same thing happens with VR all the time. Whenever it comes back around, is the novelty wears off.
Mm-hmm.
Like I haven't used it in like 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like it's still kind of a novelty thing.
Yeah. Yeah, like 3D at the movie theater. It's not like you're dying to.
Hmm.
I can't wait to see that in 3D. Yeah.
Right. And also, what I wanted it for was there's boxing games that
Oh
are
yeah.
really good exercise,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the only way I can exercise is when I don't realize I'm exercising.
Right.
But you need so much space to do a
Ah, yeah.
boxing VR game. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. They're not taking into account that, especially like in Asia, space is at a premium. Like people don't have a
Mm.
room they can dedicate to their television. So, yeah, you're going to be punching your walls more than the opponents. Yeah, that's a yeah. So we're just in this middle. I think we're gonna, we're not gonna see the day when things have moved one way or another. We're gonna just be at this strange middle ground for a while between digital and analog.
Yeah, it'll
Nope.
be this, and then it'll be a chip in your brain like that. It probably won't
Yeah.
be an in between.
Right, right, right. Yes, we're gonna miss our chances to have our consciousness uploaded into the network. We're just gonna perish. Yeah, that's
You get
yeah.
that little base of the spine thing from altered carbon, so
Oh yeah, there you go.
are you're permanently immortal.
You can re-sleeve, yeah, or yeah, whatever they
Yeah.
called it.
Mhm.
Or they can, yeah, they put you in prison, right? They just take your
Yeah.
consciousness out and stick it in a.
Lock you down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad that that show didn't live up to the expectations. They even did an RPG. I think Telesarian or somebody, one of the mid-sized publishers, did an RPG for that setting, but
Hmm.
it just didn't take hold. Uh, it's a good concept. I think we talked about that a long time ago when it was first out on the podcast. That it's a great concept to be jumping between different people that are going to be treated differently in society and different
Hmm.
and genders and things. There's a lot of stuff that opens up, and they totally like just ignored the possibilities of of that setting as usual.
Yeah.
All
It
right.
was it was pretty. It was okay.
Yeah, the
I
first
I, li-
season. Yeah, yeah.
I First season was good. I enjoyed the look of it.
Hmm. Yeah, it just seemed like there was some opportunity that, and maybe that's I didn't read the original book that it's based on, so maybe that's part of the problem in the book as well. I'm not sure,
Mm.
but yeah, we'll see. All right, are you ready? You ready for some
Ready,
headlines?
ready.
All right, so hang in there, everyone. We'll and let us know how's our audio. Are Matt and I pretty even. The levels are looking okay on my end. I'm just not hearing things. So yeah, let us know in the chat if we need to tweak one way or another. All right. So let's get started. Welcome to the weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Matt.
Hey, Matt. Sorry.
Hello.
And Chris is not with us this week, so Matt has kindly offered to do some co-hosting, so we have multiple opinions instead of just me talking to the camera. And yeah, so thanks so much, Matt. Yeah, so Chris will be hopefully back next week. A little vaccine booster difficulty, but we don't talk about that on these platforms. So let's move on to the headlines for this week. So this week on the weekly, Vallejo's dirty tricks, Hasbro Dicelings, Mantic app launches, and D&D on ESPN. So aren't you glad to be here for this week? All right, so let's get started with a story that was on the Spiky Bits blog. So Spiky Bits is a wargaming blog, and sometimes they tackle some controversy or just have some kind of strong opinion pieces on there. And this one came up, I think, from the guy that actually runs the blog, that talked about some unusual situation between Vallejo and Army Painter. So contrast paints were pretty successful for Games Workshop. So it's a one coat, as thick as you want kind of application to give you a decent result. So the pigment in the paint separates, so it kind of does a wash and gives you highlights, kind of, all at the same time. So you just apply one coat of paint, and you get pretty decent results that don't involve any more, like no dry brushing, no edge highlighting or anything. And so it's popular for people that just want to get paint on things and get them on the desktop. But of course, because it's Games Workshop, the contrast paints are pretty expensive. So all the other paint companies are now coming up with their competing products, and Army Painter was one of the first. And there was a strange situation where content creator Juan Hidalgo was reviewing the paints, and he's done some content, I think, on the YouTube channel about them, and he kind of invented this reactivation issue. So right away he was talking about, okay, yeah, this is a one coat thing, one coat product similar to contrast paints, but if you put other paint over it, or if you do anything on top of it, it reactivates the paint and causes all kinds of lifting and difficulty, which turns out not to be true. And if you're using the paint how you're supposed to, it functions as advertised. So there's no defect, there's no reactivation issue. It's just plainly not true. But it turns out that so these are speed paints. So what he was talking about is Army Painter's speed paints, which are a competitor for contrast paints. So no one's ever talked about reactivation with Citadel's contrast paints, but this content creator brought up this reactivation issue and said the paints aren't great. They're I call them defective. They're not working as I would like them to. And this was roughly kind of 8 months before it turns out that Vallejo, which is a company that he works for, and I'm not sure if he's a contractor or what the relationship is, but he is employed by Vallejo. So he's dissing competition, and not only the Army Painter paints, but also Green Stuff World also has a similar like one coat paint product that they're coming out with. So he's doing content for a channel that's basically benefiting a company that he's working for, and kind of insulting, diminishing the competition. So it's very suspicious. And so Vallejo is coming out with Express Paint. So Express Paint is their single coat solution. So this is a little odd, and I think we're gonna see more of this as companies are using contractors, and contractors side hustle, or their other job is being a content creator. They're going to be biased, and just like some of the channels ask you to indicate paid promotion. Like if someone has paid you or given you something for free, you have to indicate that, or else you're being dishonest. Well, this is very dishonest, giving an unbalanced, kind of unfair review of a competing product before people even knew you were talking about a competing product, because both Juan Hidalgo and, of course, the god of miniature painting, Giraldez, Angel Giraldez, Spanish miniature painter who does insane, amazing work. I think he became originally famous painting for Corvus Belli, so doing a lot of the models for Infinity, and he just does amazing stuff. So he's published books and things as well. But both Angel and Juan have worked together to kind of create the Express Paint for Vallejo, which is also a Spanish company. So that's not great, and I hope we don't see more of this. That's a little underhanded, a little dirty pool. If the product's good, you should be honest about saying that it works. It works as advertised. It works as indicated on the label.
Has Vallejo responded?
Vallejo has not. Army Painter, though, they did. Spiky Bits did reach out to Army Painter and ask them about this. And I think, Vallejo probably should respond. But Army Painter's response was, "We think the competition in any industry is good for the end consumer. It breeds diversity. It motivates businesses to do better. So we admire content creators that are providing education and entertainment for painters and gamers. We believe they lift the hobby." So they're being very diplomatic and very generous. They're not saying these dirty rats. But they're saying that the speed paint line has been very successful, a very successful product launch for them. And they just want to help make painting fun again. I think Army Painter is being pretty kind for something that was somebody that was like deliberately trying to undermine them, because this reactivation issue immediately spread, because I think Army Painter speed paints were the first alternative to the kind of $10 bottles of contrast paints from Games Workshop. So they were the first alternative and much cheaper, and so people, of course, are a little bit suspicious, because if it doesn't cost as much, does it work as well? And then this kind of falsified, it reactivates. They don't work well. You can't use them. Came up, and it spread pretty much all over the miniature painting community. So I think it's pretty unfair, that something like this was allowed to happen. So we'll see. We'll see if Vallejo responds.
I haven't used contrast paints. So, I mean, is the basic idea that in the recesses it's darker, and on the high points, the flat surfaces, it's lighter? Is that
Yes.
what's going on?
Yeah. So it kind of gives you three tones. If you have, with very detailed figures, not really with flat surfaces, but with detailed miniatures, you get basically the benefit of a wash and a highlight, and plus your main mid color, just from one application, because the pigment kind of separates.
It would seem like none of the companies that are putting out that kind of product would want a rumor like that going around.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's basically a it's a sorry, I shouldn't read the chat while we're talking. It's a very difficult, and also, like, the same content creator also kind of disparaged Green Stuff World, which has their own product. So it was pretty obvious that they were biased towards what they were working on, and they wanted their product to be as successful as possible. But that should involve just positive promotion of your own product, and not actually false accusations against competition.
Right.
So,
this feels very mid-level, fighting for scraps kind of dirty pool. Like, I don't see like a GW even acknowledging this.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
kind of weird.
Yeah, that's true. That is too bad, and it is going to kind of make people think twice. It may just force people to stay out of the fray and just pay way too much for contrast paint. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if Vallejo says anything about this, but And we're not trying to. We're just reporting, what was on the blog. We're not like it was just, I thought, an interesting thing to have an opinion about, and we may be seeing more of this because as that kind of, like you're saying, that mid-level competition, especially in tabletop gaming and things, becomes more fierce. We kind of see that. We see the smaller companies, disparaging each other and trying to get some bad press out there for it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening in board games and tabletop role play. So yeah, it's a tactic.
Yeah. Yeah. Hasbro and WotC and GW, like, they don't care if
Yeah,
these companies eat each other,
right, right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I think that's a good thing to consider is that, yeah, not only are you you're attempting to damage the reputation of other companies, but it's going to bring everybody down, uh, down with you. So not great.
Hmm.
But on to the the nightmare that's going to be next year's 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. We got a little.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, we need a logo or a stinger or something for that. The 50th anniversary, half a century nightmare. So Hasbro has advertised Dicelings. So Dicelings are being promoted. So let me see, what IP does Hasbro own that we could combine with Dungeons and Dragons to make a really great product that people will love? I know, Transformers.
Uh,
So Dicelings are oversized D20s with unique runes on the faces. I think you can roll them as D20s, and they are transformable. You can change them into iconic D&D monsters. So the first four that are being released are a beholder, an owlbear, a black dragon, and a red dragon. So yeah, for $14, you can get a D20 that kind of, if you unfold it, kind of looks kind of like a monster with a huge cape. I guess the dragons look a little bit better in the preview shots because they have wings, but the owl bear looks like he's like running through the laundry, like laundry was hanging on the line outside and it ran through it. And the beholder just looks like it's coming out of a Chinese food container. It's not very not very convincing. So yeah, for $14, you can purchase these Dicelings, and March 1st they're expected to be released. So next year, so in the middle of our celebration for the 50th anniversary. But I can't imagine in the design they're like balanced very well, so they probably don't function actually as D20s. They're just completely decorative.
no. I saw a little article about this,
Hmm.
and the article I read said it was the thing. It was the promotion was tied to the movie,
Right.
and I was like, "What?"
Yeah. So maybe their choice of monsters. Yeah, maybe the choice of monsters are things that appear because we know an
Yeah,
owlbear. There's an owlbear and a
and
red
the
red
black
dragon. Yeah,
dragon,
yeah, dragon. Yeah, yeah. So I
black
guess.
dragon barfing all over
Oh, that's
people in
right.
that
Oh, that's
trailer.
that's right. The vomit powers of the black dragon. Yeah, that's right. Um, and I guess they did also preview the movie, the characters from the movies, action figures at some Hasbro live stream. So we'll have those to not collect the likenesses of the main cast of the film. So
I got a player. I got a player in my home group that is a fanatic about the randomness of dice.
uh-huh.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Like, if they're not like that flawless casino cut edge,
Yeah.
he will complain about the randomness. One of these would put him in a seizure, I
Right.
think.
Yeah, if you tried to roll it roll it on the in game, I'm sure it would get a lot of complaints. Yeah, so I don't know. I think they're gonna. I think this is the year where Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro overreach. I think they're gonna find out the limits of the popularity of Dungeons and Dragons, and we're gonna kind of hit peak saturation, and people are just gonna be done with this. Especially people that are, kind of they like the novelty of it, or they like Stranger Things or whatever, but they're not really playing the game. I think we're gonna get a lot of people moving on to other hobbies. Or pretending to
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
Well, I think that's why they have that going into schools initiative, right? Because
Hmm. Hmm.
they gotta keep that growth going.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Yeah, that's really necessary for them to appeal to a young player base, and they may be doing that by going digital. That may be one of the best ways to do it because that's where the kids are. Yes. Alvaro said they look like failed Happy Meal toys. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, they should have. Yeah, they should have made the deal with McDonald's and just your expectations would be lowered if you're eating a cheeseburger while you're trying to transform one of
they
these
dug up
things.
they dug up some like 70-year-old guy that worked on the GoBot line and put him on it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I just thought that was so obvious. They're thinking, well, we can use the term transform because we own that IP, so why not? All right. Well, this I guess this would require the not the best bumper, but I don't have that loaded because we're doing
Ah,
a temporary stream from home. So we'll pretend that we saw that amazing animation and those letters fall from the sky. So not the best. So we're talking, of course, about Mantic. So the runner-up in the wargaming race, uh, a distant second to Games Workshop. Mantic has a lot of. They've been kind of filling in the holes and kind of trying to pick up the slack for things that opportunities that Games Workshop misses and things that Warhammer and especially Warhammer Fantasy doesn't do. And they've just announced a companion app. So the Mantic companion app is now live, and what this is a this is going to give you a lot of options for. So far, it's just going to be three of their games. So Kings of War, which is their mass scale ranked fantasy battle game. Dead Zone, which is kind of their kill team, their smaller skirmish sci-fi game, and then Firefight, which is I think a version of their sci-fi game. So that's the closest to their kind of 40K setting. So this app is going to give you an army list builder, what they're calling Math Hammer, which is a quick calculation of damage output versus points costs for building an army. The living rule set, so they'll constantly be updating their rules in this digital version. A tournament companion, a game hub. So tournament companion is tools to let you run your own tournaments. At your local game shop or wherever your club meets. A game hub to find out where games are happening. A club finder to actually be able to find players and find groups, and then a worldwide ranking system. So yeah, this the only thing when they demonstrated it, they were showing it's going to be on both PC and then apps, I guess, for both iOS and Android, although that's not detailed. But essentially, it's just going to be an app that takes you to a website. So it's not going to be an app that has its own database file and is has its own integrity, so that once it's updated, you don't need an internet connection. You're basically going through this app to connect to the internet. So functionality in those situations is always a little dicey because basically you're building a mobile website and a desktop website and hoping that they both display well and are readable at different resolutions. And yeah, it's not the perfect solution, but all of this, depending on how functional it is, can be yours for free for the first 3 months.
oh,
Yeah, so that's nice. They're basically, it's eventually going to be a subscription model, but they're going to start out by if you use the code, and I'll post this in the description. If you use the code NLJAN31, then you get the a free month of total access to everything that the app can do. So they're not going to gate or limit anything. So you have the full rules, the full army list for all three of those games, and no one will be charged for anything until the end of January. And then at that time, you can choose if you want to continue a subscription or if you just want to go with the free version, which will have some limitations. So they did mention, because this is a kind of a digital platform, a digital product, and so maybe they're thinking they can kind of be competing with Warhammer Plus or something. So they did talk about maybe special miniatures offered for subscribers, similar to what Games Workshop does with Warhammer Plus. But that's not maybe first anniversary. They said that something like that might be possible. They just don't think they can ensure that that works for everyone right now, because you're dealing with a lot of international customers and things. And there was a run through, a kind of a tour of this app by Kyle from Mastercrafted, and it was on the Mastercrafted YouTube channel. And I'm not quite sure the relationship. The way he talked was like he was a Mantic employee, but he had an American accent, so he's not based in Nottingham or anything. So I'm not sure exactly, because he said we a lot, and he indicated, talked about Mantic a lot. So I don't know if he's a contractor or what that situation is. So again, like the Vallejo, Army Painter thing, we don't know. He's promoting this. He's promoting this app, but we don't know his exact relationship and what he's got invested in it. And if they're paying him to do this work, then if it's on his channel, we should have some idea what's going on. But Kyle did mention the S word during his quick tour when referring to miniatures, and I guess the S word in wargaming would be STLs. So
Oh,
so that would be a huge that would be shots fired, I think, against Games Workshop if Mantic was the first to offer their miniatures digitally. Like, you pay a subscription, you buy into this service, and they'll give you access to STLs. That would be a game changer, I think, in a lot of ways for how people are, thinking about war games and things. So I don't know if it would be admitting any kind of defeat, or if it would actually be advancing the hobby. If Mantic was to do that, they're just admitting that they can't compete, or they're saying, no, we know what our customers want, and we're going to provide it for them.
so I'm sorry. How much was the subscription?
Oh, they didn't give us a number yet. I think that's going to be announced closer to the end. It sounds like it's going to be, probably, no references, but I would guess between the $5 to $7 range per month, because it doesn't offer a huge amount. There's not any additional content that you're doing through the app. No communication or videos or anything.
So I bet. Well, I don't know. My guess is if the app is really just taking you to their website where you're logging in there,
Right.
It's sort of a cheat to not have to pay Apple or Google
Right.
the in-app purchases,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what Games Workshop does with Warhammer Plus. And they're doing that all, like, if you're using anything online, or you buy anything online, it drops you down to their website, you log in, you make the purchase, and then it shows up in the app for like Black Library audio and things like that. So yeah, I think they haven't been stopped yet. Maybe they're big enough that or maybe they're niche enough that nobody's noticed. But yeah, I think they're going around the app shops in that way.
And did you say that the Army calculator function was called Math Hammer?
It was. They're always
that right there is shots fired.
yeah, exactly. They're always pulling that tiger's tail just to
That's
see.
awesome.
Yeah, and the Math Hammer looked kind of fun. If you know that system, you can really tweak. You can really kind of play around with exactly what the performance you want a unit to have, and things like that are really useful because, and I think they exist for third parties for 40K and things, but those are really useful, especially official products, because it helps you kind of figure out what purchases, like what units you want to buy, and models aren't cheap for wargaming, so you're not just like going by a rule of cool or whatever, and then finding out once they're on the tabletop that they're useless.
STLs, good on them. I mean, I don't have a 3D printer, but it seems like, it's almost like the whole Napster thing, right? Either you're gonna jump into this pool or you're gonna eventually just die out.
Yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah, I'm curious, and if they follow the model of what some of the people on Patreon are doing, some of the designers on Patreon, they basically could come up with licensed retailers that can produce the physical products, and so that might actually save them from the expenses of tooling and doing things if they kind of move forward and just say, we're going to have high end, like ABS strength resin
Mm.
produced biominiatures of these by these reputable companies, and or you can buy the files themselves. Yeah, the only trouble
Yep.
with STLs, which I think everyone is afraid of, is once that digital file is out there in the wild, it is infinitely duplicatable and will probably end up being torrented or passed around.
Yeah, but every game PDF in the world kind of is. I
Oh, that's true.
mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't. It's just part of the reality now.
Hmm. Yeah, and
And if you're gonna get a lot of, if you're charging a reasonable price,
mhm.
the majority of the people are probably gonna be like, "Oh, that's not bad. I'll buy that." It actually takes like a little effort. It sounds silly, but it takes a little effort to go find the free stuff on the internet,
Hmm.
or versus dropping like $2 on a file.
Right.
So like, I think this is the way to go. I'm
Yeah.
no expert. I think so.
No, I think that's a good point. And also, like, I think most people understand if you're not like a 12-year-old, kid on the internet, I think you understand that if you don't pay for things, there will not be things in the future by this same company. If you don't pay for their products, they're going to just stop making them. So if you don't care if there's no future for Kings of War, then of course just download everything you want. But yeah, if you want to support, and I think that's what a lot of people are understanding about Patreon. Like they want to directly support these digital sculptors that are making miniatures that these people want to play. For
Hmm.
games that these people want to play, and a lot of them they're making miniatures for dead games that don't have they have a rule set from the 90s. So it's a I think that the understanding of like the value of that is it's different. You're not buying, it's not a widget, it's not a thing that you're buying, but you're supporting the company's ability to produce more. So
It seems like a sort of a three-pronged approach makes sense. You have your normal production processes,
mhm.
then you partner with something like a Hero Forge, so people can buy one at a time, maybe customize a little, and
Right.
then you also have the STLs available. So you're kind of hitting three different types of consumer that way.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a really excuse me. That's a really good point. Especially with STLs and digital things, you can add a level of customization that they wouldn't be able to do with the actual cast plastic miniatures. You can add iconography and things that could be customizable, and you can even upload, your clan or your army's iconography. Yeah, that could really change things a lot. Instead of people having to DIY everything, if you had services that could produce that for you, I think that would be great. So yeah, I hope Mantic a lot of luck with this. I definitely want to check this out and see how it looks on a phone, because that's going to be a big test. If it's not readable and not very usable on a small kind of average mobile device, then I think it should have just been a website anyhow.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see how they do, and definitely take advantage of that 3 months. And it'll also give them kind of a stress test. It'll help them work out the bugs and give them a little bit of a ability to know when it's at its peak kind of popularity, if they're going to have the bandwidth and everything to keep it running, if their servers are ready. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll put a link to that YouTube video that Kyle from Mastercrafted did, so you guys can take a look at all of the options. It's not the I guess the thing that they did do well is it's not too graphics heavy. It's very Spartan and kind of minimalist in its design. So you're not going to be eating a lot of you're not going to be eating up a lot of data. With some weird cool templates and backgrounds and textures and character art. There's no miniature artwork or anything. So it's going to run pretty light on mobile devices if you're using data. So that was a good choice.
Hmm.
All right, and I think this might officially be one of the signs of the apocalypse, but or just the indication of like total saturation of the Dungeons and Dragons hobby. But this past weekend, ESPN ran a 4-minute long segment on Dungeons and Dragons in the Cleveland Browns. So
Oh,
sports
I remember that story.
so Sports Center had this inside look about three players, one former and two active players from the Cleveland Browns, that talked about their nerdy hobby and kind of how their group, the Heathens, came to be. So it was a surprisingly like highly produced, like there was character art for all of the members, and a lot of shots of miniatures on tabletops and dice and things. So it was pretty well produced. But yeah, so it was Johnny Stanton the fourth was the DM, so a former fullback for the Browns, and joining him were Miles Garnett and Wyatt Teller. And they both were very entertaining, and talked about their love of this, their secret love, used to be secret love of this hobby. And I guess one of them was wearing a Stranger Things T-shirt in the locker room, and it started a conversation. Hey, have you ever played the game that's in that show? So there it is, the gateway for many. And Stanton's cred was his tabletop RPG cred was reinforced by the fact that he scored a game-winning touchdown after showing up for the game wearing a Critical Role T-shirt. So we all knew.
Oh,
we
you had to sneak that in.
we all knew where his allegiances lie. But yeah, it's a funny thing. But this is one of those things that makes you kind of think, okay, wait, now they have professional athletes, and I think we've had pro wrestlers and bodybuilders, because there is a group that I think does some streams called Jocks McCann.
Josh McCann.
McCann. Yeah, sorry. Jocks Mechanic instead of Ex Machina. I guess it's Jocks Machina. Yeah, Jocks Machina. It's and that's all jocks, athletes of some level, talking about their RPG experiences. So, and I think Critical Role has flirted with having professional wrestlers and various members for promotion. I think it's a lot of charity streams and stuff. They've done things like that. But this is kind of a line has now been crossed. So the guys that were stuffing the roleplay gamers into the lockers are now sitting at the tables. So I don't know if this is a good thing. Are we all joining hands and gathering around the warmth of the D&D table, or what's going on here?
If I was feeling really vindictive, I would say that it's more about how D&D is like devolved to a level where athletes are just playing it like. But I'm not gonna say that. It's good. It's good that everyone's welcome in the hobby.
Right.
Oh my god.
This is
You could have just run that not the best thing this whole episode.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is a not the best episode. Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah. I guess that doesn't speak very well of 5e if it's simple enough for a professional football player to understand the rules. Because there's not much else. There's not much else going on aside from the playbook and their training.
I follow some sports, so I say that kind of with tongue in cheek. Like
Yeah.
it's actually cool. It had to be D&D, of course, and then you double down by bringing in Critical Role. Ugh,
Oh, I
come
know.
on.
Yeah, that's true. But this also does clear up why Cleveland is struggling in the AFC North because they've got a distraction. They've got some of their players distracted with the thinking about their characters and min-maxing their barbarian.
Oh yeah. That's totally it. It's not their ownership, and that's totally it. It's the D&D's fault.
Right. Yeah. I think they've got a really easy schedule this season too. So if they don't do well, then I guess we have to blame D&D. Oh man, I just thought that was funny, and it's surprisingly well produced well produced piece. And Johnny Stanton, the reason it got some more attention is he posted it on his personal Twitter account, kind of broken up into a couple of pieces. So yeah, we got to see the whole story. But yeah, it's,
So
I mean, what's that?
is this gonna morph into an ESPN like actual play on like ESPN
Yeah.
8 or
Well,
whatever?
we've talked about that before. That there's a push. I think there were actually people, maybe not in WotC, but at Hasbro, that were like, esport. We're thinking, how do we do 5e competitive? Like that was talk for a while about how to make an esport out of Dungeons and Dragons. So it could happen, and yeah, if this gets enough attention, and people are curious enough, that yeah, that would be hysterical to see a way to competitively play. I mean, because it's been attempted before. Like there's been like convention modules and adventures and stuff that are basically kind of a competitive event, a gauntlet to run.
Well, DCC Dungeon Crawl Classics has that. Oh no, it's like that alternate version of their game.
Oh right,
Oh no,
that's right. When
I
we
want to
did,
call it. I want to call it Dungeon Ball, but that's not right.
yeah, it's something like that though. Yeah, I know it. Yeah, we talked about that with
But
the unboxing. Yeah.
the whole conceit of that is that it's actually like sort of a modern reality show,
Hmm.
and they're actually going into a dungeon delve that's filmed like a sport,
Right. Right.
and it's a cool idea. But
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see if that actually happens. That would
X
be a
Crawl Classics,
yes.
thank you,
There we.
Alvaro.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. X Crawl Classics. Yes. So yeah, uh there are people that yeah, kind of pushing for that kind of positioning for tabletop role play. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty funny. But I guess it can be different things to different people. I think it can serve different people in different ways. I don't think this is when people are talking about inclusivity at RPG tables. I don't think they're talking about bringing the NFL in. But I guess if you are going to be open to everyone, that's it's gonna happen.
And of course, the quality of what their game looks like is good because it's a table surrounded by millionaires.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I guess it's a good thing for them to do in retirement instead of use car lots or whatever usually happens promoting the a local gas station.
yeah.
uh yeah, I don't know. It was funny. It was just a funny thing to see, and of course those things stand out. But because of the level of production of that piece, it made me think that maybe there was some WotC money, or some that it was kind of like it could have been a kind of hidden advertisement. It could have been a covert kind of guerrilla advertisement, because we're going to get more and more promotion of Dungeons and Dragons this next year. So this sort of thing is going to probably become pretty regular.
So that's going to be the ESPN actual play sponsored by WotC, and they're always rolling those ridiculous transforming 20
Yeah, there you go.
sided.
Yes, exactly. Get your official Diceling from our NFL actual play. Yeah.
Asking athletes to work in some clumsy like product placement for the movie. You know,
Right.
ugh.
Well, I just want to hear the reporters after the actual play session. So, what were you thinking out there? Why was your barbarian that fumble? That fumble really seemed to hurt you in that last round of combat. Well, I think we were doing our best. They played good. We played good. The beholder was a little more than we could handle.
Did the
Uh,
DM throw like a little yellow flag on the table when there's like a rules breach or
yes,
something?
I'm sure they have to incorporate. Yeah, then they'll really be called referees again, won't they? If
Oh
if
yeah.
the actual plays are NFL based. Yeah, so it's funny to see how this, because I would never have expected any NFL players to like for Stranger Things to be their favorite TV show. So that's a little bit surprising. So then, of course, that would lead into Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role playing. But yeah, so I'll link to that. I'll link to that Twitter post. So if you can watch that that little expose. But yeah, it's not the best. this
No.
entire this entire episode has been not the best. But yeah, but we made it. We were here. We're on the right day, the right time. But just not firing on all cylinders. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week. So, Matt, is there anything you want people to know about or to find you on? You have something on Drive Through RPG, perhaps?
I do have a couple Twilight 2000 supplements on drive through.
Mm-hmm.
Friend or foe, look it up. I was gonna say the Blade Runner episode
Oh,
3 is available to the public now, so
yes.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Check that out if you didn't already see the member version.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
great.
Other than that, we're plugging away at John Carter Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, we can get that up pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been really fun. And yeah, the more I read about that setting, yeah, it's there's so much there, and it's really I love the kind of super science and kind of savagery of the the Martians, Martian versus Martian, but then also the weird technology. There's really good stuff there.
Hmm.
So we'll be seeing more of that, more of that soon. Excellent. Yeah. So take a look at upturntable.com for everything that we've been doing. The actual play series, so the first 3 episodes of Blade Runner are up there, and we also did the back in the day we did the Alien RPG, and there's some random actual play up there still. This most recent series, though, the Blade Runner, is more highly produced. The audio's edited and cleaned up, and we used a lot of graphics instead of just video of the table. So you'll get some. It's a little bit quicker. Like I think it's an easier listen than an echoey room with a microphone in the middle of the table. So yeah, check that out if you like actual plays. And yeah, and as per your suggestion, Matt, I will be putting the audio from those episodes also up on the just the regular podcast RSS feed. So some of those episodes will show up amidst the weekly postings. So yeah, and Patreon just promoted their official video platform, so we could be doing some other series that actually only exist on Patreon. So that might be fun. We'll play around with that idea and see see what kind of content and also to support people that are already supporting us on Patreon. So if you would like to become a weakling on Patreon, a supporter of the weekly and the strongest of all patrons, please visit patreon.com /upturntable. And Upturntable on all social media, you can find us. And this live stream is on both YouTube and Twitch. And then the audio for this, for our patrons, goes on the Patreon RSS feed. So you can hear the entire banter of the episode, not just the discussion in the middle. So full discussion. So yeah, thanks for joining us. And Matt, do you want to let people know where they can find you? Do you want to plug? Do you have a Twitter or anything?
I am on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
It's HAARGALD at Gmail. Or, no, just at.
At
I was
yes.
about to do my email.
Right.
It's there is a little bit of left wing ranting on.
All
Be
right.
warned.
Be warned. All right. And I do a single panel gag cartoon that I stream the drawing of every week. So if you go to Abuse Cartoons on YouTube and abusecartoons.com for the website, you can find links to that, and gocomics.com /domestic abuse for the archive of all of those cartoons. So thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week doing the same thing. So thanks, Matt. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Jeremy.
Okay. And goodbye. All right. Thank you, Matt. Oh, I forgot the humble bundle thing. I think there's still a couple of days we can do that one next week. Yeah, I had the screen up for doing that. But yeah, there's so preview of next week. We'll talk about there's a Pathfinder Starfinder deal on Humble Bundle that gives you quite a bit of stuff and a physical copy of the Pathfinder starter set for a second edition. And they really go crazy with content for those boxes. Both the Starfinder Pathfinder boxes are quite hefty. They've got a lot of materials in them because they include pawns and the flip maps and everything. So it's literally everything to play Pathfinder how they want you to play Pathfinder or Starfinder. So pretty cool.
Yeah, a buddy of mine bought several of the Pathfinder boxes of standees,
Mm-hmm.
and those are chunky. Like one
Oh yeah,
box has so many standees in it, and they're good quality cardstock,
yeah, yeah.
or like not even cardstock, like a chipboard. And they're, yeah, I was impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's what we use most of the time when we're just playing RPGs around the table.
Yeah, they're really
'Cause
easy to yeah.
there's hundreds and hundreds of things in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did a really good job with that. I think it was good for them to like kind of choose. I think they also they have like blind bag, like pre-painted miniatures and stuff for Pathfinder, but not kind of to the extent that D&D does. But I think they did a good job because the art is so good and distinctive. Or
Mm-hmm.
it was until the artist started working for both Wizards and Paizo. But yeah, those are really, really good quality stuff. So if you like that kind of game, a little crunchier, a little mathier, 3.5, kind of an evolution of D&D 3.5. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. And the production quality of those boxes is so good.
Was there a big shift between first and second edition Pathfinder, or they just kind of tweak it a little?
Oh yeah, there's quite a bit. There's some uh yeah, they did some basic things. I'm trying to think. We did the play tests for we ran some sessions of the play test when they first launched second edition. So the conditions they kind of uh, came up with a more limited version of conditions and things that I'm probably misnaming it. It might not be conditions, but things like flat-footed or some of the things that can happen as results of battle that
Mm-hmm.
have some effect on you. And so they kind of standardized that. There's, yeah, what's the other big change that I noticed? It's less 3.5 style in many ways. I think healing is working a little bit differently. Yeah, there's and character creation. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've
Yeah.
since we did that. But it seemed to streamline things a little bit. And I noticed because we played Starfinder right before that, and Starfinder is almost exactly Pathfinder, a little bit of tweaking for the setting and everything, but it's basically still 3.5. And I noticed that there is a little bit more, kind of elegance and streamline to the new version. But I'm not sure because people played, Pathfinder for the 3.5 experience, so I'm not sure if it split the fan base or the player base or what. But yeah, it was definitely playable. It was fun, and I really like the Starfinder. What they did with Starfinder, we were very worried when it first came out. It was just going to be space elves, space dwarves. Everything was
Mm-hmm.
just going to be
Yeah.
have star or space in front of it. But it's a unique setting and very playable. That's good stuff. Yeah, so we'll talk about that next week, and that lined up perfectly with talking about uh, the increase in PDF prices. Paizo raised their PDF prices. So this is a good chance to get a bunch of stuff for very cheap.
Yeah.
Or like right as that price jump is happening. Let's take a look at the chat. Hey, there's Matt. Hey, Matt, you're in the chat. How did you do that?
Hey.
Hey, Crispin, how's it going? Oh yeah, Crispin made a good point. Yeah, all press is good press. So yeah, now people know about Vallejo's express paints, and yeah, it's out there now. Yeah, and the thing that made me laugh during the regular part of the podcast is Alvaro said, yeah, that they look seriously horrible, like failed Happy Meal toys. And it's
Yeah.
exactly what those dicelings look like.
They
Yeah.
do. That's why I was thinking GoBots because they just look like crap.
Yeah, yeah, real kind of half-assed it, but I guess it's like they have a limited capacity to produce certain things. I don't even want to see what the action figures look like from the movie. I'm sure they're going to be just not in anybody's. They're not going to make it to anybody's collection unless you're a really hardcore D&D movie collector. Oh man,
Yeah. If the movie is successful, they'll let some other company do like a black label action
right.
figure or something later on.
Hmm.
But the one Hasbro throws out there is going to be garbage.
Oh yeah, yeah. The likenesses and paint jobs are just going to be stupid, and that it's I don't think anyone's had success for a while with you know IP tied action figures because people are not even buying Star Wars or Marvel anymore. They've got the collectors like doing that crowdfunding now. So Hasbro's got anybody that wants to spend some serious money, like doing their HasLab crowdfunding stuff.
Mm.
It's crazy. Yeah, so Abyss said Games Workshop has a choke hold on the FOMO and price hikes, and they're just too much to justify. I can only assume it was a short shelf life that can burn out their consumers with constant releases. Yeah, that's true. They really have. Games Workshop is really on this treadmill, and I think that's why they've screwed up some pretty major releases. Is because their production schedule is really tight. They're trying to refresh games and keep people interested, and I think they're doing a little bit more than they can actually handle because some of their stuff is like they released a codex for a new army and then immediately had to, before the books even got into people's hands, I think only like reviewers, like advanced copies went out, but before the people even had the books in their hands, the rules were completely obsolete. Like the points were all wrong and everything had been nerfed and rebalanced because they did that thing where they made the new army way too powerful so that everyone wanted to buy it, everyone wanted to play it, and then later they would nerf it. But I think they got banned at a German tournament, and so they realized, maybe we gotta release some errata and some points and power nerfing before they actually come out.
You
So
talk,
yeah,
you're talking about the squats or whatever
yeah,
they're called now.
yeah. The Voten, the clans or something. Yeah. Their space dwarves came out way too strong. uh,
And they look too much like Space Marines too. Huh?
yeah. They reminded me. Some of them just look uh, like StarCraft. They look like little StarCraft
Yeah,
units.
yeah, that's like
So
vaguely like a Space Marine, but not.
right. Yeah, so we come full circle where Blizzard imitated Games Workshop, and now Games Workshop is imitating Warcraft. Yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah, and Abyss made that good point. The piracy will thrive when things become unreasonable, when it's like very inconvenient or too expensive to get things in a legal way.
Yeah.
Then then when people look for alternatives. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, My Mini Factory. Yeah, that's right. They've partnered now, or they we're working with that British company that does all physical miniatures. So yeah, that's good. And Abyss says the Netflix years back showed that people are willing to pay for a great service that are just too many fingers in the pie now, and people are back to downloading. Yeah. I think people aren't getting what they want, and now with this proliferation of streaming services, I think it's impossible to subscribe to everything, to watch everything that is popular.
It's possible, but then it becomes just as bad as your old cable bill that you
Yeah,
walked away from.
right.
So it's kind of like, what's the point of this?
No, that's
I'm
really true.
surprised. I'm surprised there hasn't been a company that's made some kind of big pitch to operate as sort of an aggregate for
Mm,
the big streamers.
mm-hmm.
Like we'll bundle these four big streamers together and all their little associated streaming platforms
Yeah,
for this price that's not as bad as a cable bill,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
No, that's a good point. I could see something like that happening. Although the streaming services are so cagey with their numbers and everything, like nobody is like
Hmm.
really being very honest with their data. So yeah, I don't know, and that might hurt the kind of investment and things in the future that people keep banking on. Netflix is this never ending accumulator of subscribers, which can't happen infinitely or indefinitely. Leagues, sorry, right, Leagues of Votan. Yeah, that's the squats.
Well,
Yeah,
they lost Henry Cavill, and people are
yeah,
acting like it's the end of the world. So
yeah. That's it. Would be really interesting. Some people have suggested that he may have left. I mean, there may have been other opportunities or whatever, but he may simply have left because he was tired of playing a character that wasn't accurate to the books or the game. They went outside the lore and just didn't like The Witcher. The people that were working on the show didn't like The Witcher, so they were just doing
Mhm.
whatever they wanted with the character. And he, may this may be his protest. That would be pretty cool. I would.
I I think it's because Warner Brothers backed up a dump truck full of money to his house and said, "Please be Superman forever."
Yeah, they
And
played that John Williams, Superman theme, and he's like, all right.
yeah, here's a
Yeah.
bazillion dollars. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I think that show is going to die so fast without him, though. I mean, he was like the only real draw. None of the other casting was particularly great in The Witcher, so we'll see. Yeah, yeah. Alvaro, agreed. The beginner box. That's right. They're not called starter box. They're called the beginner box. The beginner box for Paizo's games are insanely good. I mean, just if you just pick one up, you're like, whoa. That it's not because the latest starter set, the new version of the starter set for 5e, is literally just maybe like a couple dozen sheets of paper and then a big spacing, a big cardboard spacer in there so things don't, slide around too much, and then some dice. It's like almost nothing because they just put like codes in there, like QR codes and stuff to get you onto their website, but they really are going minimal. There's no reason to even like put it in a box now. The that new 5e starter
Hmm.
is just very anemic. So yeah, Paizo brings the wood pulp. they really they give you the heavy things for the tabletop.
They they should put those old school soft plastic dice in there, like the old basic set dice.
Yeah,
The one
yeah,
you would run the crayon over the numbers.
yes, that would be
Yeah.
great. Yeah, yeah, I'd love to see those again. That would be really good. Yeah. Oh yeah, Abyss says the amount of shows being created is more than ever and could be great, but all the writers and directors are spread thin. Yeah, and I think we're seeing that also for the visual effects for like the CG houses. They can't keep up with like Marvel's like Disney Plus production for shows and stuff. They're like really stretching everything thin. It's weird to think. Oh yeah, we say.
Oh, I
Oh
was
yeah.
just gonna say also you add things like Amazon locking down
Oh yeah.
effects houses so that HBO can't access them,
Yeah, right. That's another dirty trick. Yeah. But it's weird that they feel like, I mean, if they just produce really good quality content, it doesn't have to come up particularly regularly and people will just be there every time it's out. But instead they've got this like treadmill going where they're just throwing out a ton of mediocre stuff, like stuff that isn't even a complete thought, it isn't even like some of these story ideas and stuff that were just like the Book of Boba Fett on Disney Plus is like, why even bother with something like that? It's a
I'm 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 kind of a fanboy. I was really excited about Boba Fett,
mhm.
to be honest. I was their target market, I think, but I think they just the whole timeline flashback thing. They just made the wrong call with that
Hmm.
stuff. Part of
Hmm. No, I
I'm
think
loving
so.
it. I'm loving Andor.
Oh yeah.
Like, and Andor is shot to a large degree on location.
Hmm.
I think they shot a lot of it in Scotland. Um, they do use the volume that Disney studio with the LED
Oh yeah,
surrounding
yeah, yeah.
everything. They do
Hmm.
use it, but not nearly as much as the other shows.
Hmm.
And you can kind of tell, like you get this real kind of realistic vibe from a lot.
Oh yeah. And yeah, I like what they did. Like the world building that Andor has done is interesting and fun, and it doesn't ruin anything. I mean, I guess maybe you're like a real lore stickler, or like you have memorized every Dark Horse Comics storyline and read every single book. But I really like that it doesn't seem to be treading on anything, and it's telling a very interesting story, and it's a mature story. We're not seeing any lightsabers. It's like it must be the budget must be a bit more reasonable too, because there's not so much cosmetic. There's not a lot of aliens, not a lot of creatures, so you're not seeing so much of that. It's just ship budgets and sets. But yeah, it's a real shame, and I think the director said it's going to be a long time before we see another season of Andor, if ever. So it's going to be a long wait, and it's real sad. Are the is the finale coming up? Is it? Are they getting to the end?
Well, that's interesting because it. I had heard it was greenlit for 2 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
and the first season is longer than what Disney normally does. I
Oh
think
yeah.
the first season, I think this is like 12
Oh
episodes
cool.
or something
Oh
like that.
good. Good. Okay.
And which I'm loving because it's like it's got such a more like sort of 70s spy thriller
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing going. So it's got this nice slow burn that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't really get in most Disney shows, like She-Hulk.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And characters with arcs and motivations and kind of hidden
Mhm.
motives. Hidden. It's just it's yeah, much more entertaining, and I think it's just not because it doesn't have any of that. Because when they announced that, I was like, why would they make an Andor show? But they've proven that there's a lot there with that character, and how to. The sad thing is, we know where he ends up. We know the beach he ends up on.
Yeah. But it's if it's well made, I don't mind it already kind of being solved.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is what killed me about Rings of Power was it's already solved, so that's this challenge. So it better be well made,
Hmm.
and it wasn't well made.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, that's true.
Which Biss just mentioned Rings of Power, and that I read something the other day, and I felt like a failure as a geek for missing this,
Hmm.
but the Harfoots
Yeah.
completely don't work if you're gonna stick with Tolkien lore.
Uh huh.
Because the whole thing with like Bilbo Baggins was like he was like this dichotomy. He was like part Harfoot and part Baggins or whatever.
Oh right.
And the whole thing was the Harfoots were the settled down hobbits. They were the
Yes.
the ones that don't leave the Shire, and they keep to themselves. They don't trust people, right?
Right. Right.
And then you smash cut to this show where the Harfoots are these roaming gypsies, and
Right.
and it's like,
Uh.
no, they can't be Harfoots. Call them something else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's really true. And it's funny. I didn't know much about it, but I watched some YouTube video about the abandoned sequel to Lord of the Rings that Tolkien was actually working on. It was just
Oh,
basically.
fourth age kind of
Yes,
thing.
right, yeah, fourth. So, the reason he just said it was too dark and depressing, and it's all humans, so there's nothing very interesting about it. But the fate of the hobbits in that was very interesting, where they're just kind of scattered and become basically like uncivilized pygmies, just like living in the wild. So basically, what they were depicting with the Harfoots is the ultimate fate of the halflings. They're just or of hobbits. They're just driven out into the wild and just slowly lose their civilization. Their their little waistcoats and pocket watches and everything, and just
Wow.
and just
They,
go
they, be,
feral. Yeah.
they become like Forbidden Lands hobbits.
Yeah, yeah,
That's cool.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Or even what Dark Sun hobbits, yeah, Dark Sun
Oh yeah,
halflings.
probably more like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny. Yeah, that. But yeah, Endor is definitely worth checking out. I mean, if you have any love, and I even felt that way, except for the CG Peter Cushing and kind of reworking of that story. I really felt that way about Rogue One. It's like this is the kind of Star Wars stories I wouldn't mind them telling. Is these kind
Yeah.
of one shot of some little part of the story, part of the universe that we haven't really seen. I was all for that, and then then things just went
Everywhere.
went all crazy. But yeah, so
Have you seen that meme? That there's a meme picture going around of it's George Lucas. It's an old picture of George Lucas on the set of Star Wars filming,
hmm
directing,
hmm
and it says like just announced George Lucas agrees to film a sequel to Andor.
nice. Oh man. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like the these streaming services, like the good shows, are being rewarded enough or made popular enough to get the attention to get more of them made. So I'm really worried because Andor isn't getting. I mean, everyone that I know that I've heard of or follow online or whatever has said they're enjoying it, but I'm not hearing any positive buzz about it at all from like bigger entertainment press or anything.
Yeah, it doesn't get a lot of talk. My thing with Disney, both the Marvel and the Star Wars stuff, is like if it feels different from their other stuff, it gets my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And Andor has done that. I felt the same way about Moon Knight. Moon Knight was very different than the other
Mm-hmm.
Marvel shows,
Mm-hmm.
and I know a lot of people weren't really into it, but I thought it was good. And but part of why I thought it was good was it was so different
Mm.
than their other series in that universe. You know,
Right.
that's what I'm always looking for that now because if so much of the stuff feels so cookie cutter, just mass produced.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Uh, I don't know, but yeah, it's just we got too much. Yeah, it's not too much of a good thing. It's too much of like a mediocre gray
Yeah,
paste.
yeah,
This should be a golden age, but instead people are just like ruining IPs, and yeah, there's never been more money, to do amazing things, and the technology to actually show things that could never have been shown on television or movies before, and they're just wasting it with all kinds of nonsense.
yeah.
Wow. Well, what a note to end on there. That's that's a real uplifting. We failed. Uh,
Everything's bad.
yeah, right.
No, it's not all bad.
Yeah, we'll see.
I enjoyed Cabinets of Curiosity. Anybody watching that?
Oh no, I didn't. I was gonna. That was gonna be Halloween viewing, but for some reason Netflix kept crashing here, so
Uh,
I had to. I don't know if that was like because too many people were watching, or because Amazon is choking Netflix. I don't know. I was trying to figure out why.
I watched. There's two episodes that are specifically adapted from Lovecraft stories.
Mm-hmm.
Dreams in the Witch House, and, Pickman's Model.
Oh,
So I watched Dreams in the Witch House on Halloween night with my family, and I
nice.
really enjoyed it. Like it's gonna have the same problem that all these properties have. There's gonna be the angry nerds who are like, no, they changed this, they
Oh,
changed
right.
that. But with a Lovecraft story, you're gonna have to flesh it out, build some stuff into it because he did not go into detail. He left it to your imagination,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and I really enjoyed it.
Oh,
I
that's
thought it was
cool.
good.
Yeah, I really wanted to watch it. It just kept getting all pixelated and then just crash. So I don't know what
Oh,
was going on. Oh, but I did watch All Quiet on the Western Front.
oh yeah.
That's really well made. It's really beautiful. They do something with the grading of the film, or it might be digital video, but they're doing something with the color grading where everything is just stark and gray and just all desaturated, but everyone's face is really really colorful. So the dead, like the faces of the dead and everything are so purple and green, and it's really crazy. So the actual like life in people's faces, even if they're all covered with mud and everything, is really interesting. I think it was a interesting like kind of creative choice. But yeah, the color is amazing. It's almost surreal how colorful people's faces are. And there's some situations where yeah, people get covered with mud or whatever, and the mud is very like green or very brilliant and bright. So the yeah, that color grading choice was really interesting visually. It's really striking because that could be a very monotone, almost black and white looking film
Yeah.
because of the lack of color. And they did something to the faces, the skin tones and faces that just are amazing. But yeah,
Have you
it's
seen 19? Oh, I'm
yes,
sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I have, yeah, yeah, 1917,
1917.
yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah. I thought they filmed that really well. Like the use of shadow, especially in the
mm,
night scenes,
mm-hmm.
was really good.
Yeah, yeah, when he's just like
Something about
running through there. Mm-hmm.
World War One films, like if they're made well, they're just real dire. Like they're real
Yeah,
dark. You know.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I can see why there's that one game setting that kind of combines, kind of Cthulhu or kind of elder gods with World War One, like something like dark and forbidden is happening, in the wastelands, in the battlefields of World War One, and that makes sense, yeah, because when you see how it's portrayed, yeah,
I'm
often in film.
surprised that that Scythe property
Mm-hmm.
or the art that inspired Scythe hasn't been picked up for something
Yeah, that's
because
true.
it just seems like ripe for because I pretty isn't that I think it's the same artist that did the oh what's the free league game about the kids in the
Oh no,
alternate
I think
future.
it's a no, I think it's a different artist. It's a
Oh, is it a
yeah,
different
similar
artist?
style. Yeah, the artist for Tales from the Loop is the
Tales
Swedish.
from the
Yeah,
Loop.
yeah. I think he's a Swedish illustrator.
Similar similar situation where it kind
Yes,
of it started as art and became a game,
right, right. Yeah.
and then even Tales of the Loop was an Amazon show. I never watched it.
Oh yeah, it's actually a pretty good show. I was surprised. It feels very Twilight Zone. Like they focus on different characters in this town, so they the loop kind of unifies everything, but it has a kind of a fun Twilight Zone feel that I wasn't expecting because it's all original characters. They just kind of yeah, use the setting,
Mm.
but yeah, and some fun time things. Yeah, yeah, that shows worth watching. I was really surprised by the quality of that, and yeah, yeah, good. That's
Check
good
that out.
stuff.
Put it on the list. That list is getting long.
Cue it up. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah, I think we probably will see. They did there's a PC game, like a PC turn-based like strategy game for the board game you're talking about, Scythe.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it's called like Iron Tide or Tides
yeah,
of Iron or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So they
yeah.
did.
It's kind of a cool alternate history diesel punk kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be that could be really fun, and I think that's what part of the problem with a lot of the new streaming content is it's existing properties
Mm-hmm.
and it gets like they overthink it instead of just
Mm.
making a really good series or a really good story.
Mm-hmm.
So if you took this, it was doesn't really have a story, and you get some good people to write for it and produce it, you know,
No,
then
that's true.
there's not that weird internet minority that's angry because they think of it this other way. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't come from it didn't there wasn't another way, it wasn't a book or anything, so you can just have fun.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, and I think yeah, they could have a lot more success doing that. And once they exhaust, all of these popular IPs from the the 80s and 90s, I think that's what they're going to have to do is actually let people let people do original things. I had a thought that might be the actual process. This might be some like weird evolutionary process, and people though they're going to kill nostalgia to an extent that nobody wants to remember, nobody wants to dig up any of these old things, so we're going to be forced to be futurists and only look ahead because yeah, everything has been it's just been scorched earth. You don't want to look at Star Wars or any Ghostbusters. You don't want to have anything to do with any of that stuff anymore because they've just burned it to the ground, so we have to look forward. Yeah, it's feeling like that.
Yeah. How many like peeing on poor Harold Ramis's corpse and
Right.
So you don't think there's like a dungeon somewhere where they have like the Twilight author and uh, what's the other one? The one with cat. What's the one with Katniss? What's that one called?
Oh, the Hunger
The
Games. Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. Yeah,
Yeah, it
that
says.
that author. They're like chained to death, forced to put out more YA crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, Elvaro. Yeah, that's exactly. Never Going Home. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about when we were talking about World War One, kind of the wasteland battlefields. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Never go. That might be a game. I might try to talk you and Will into playing that. I really the character creation and everything in that game is very very cool. And
Fun.
the only difficulty is we'll have to come up with it has a playing card mechanic, so we'll have to come up with we'll have to use a tabletop a VTT that has card draw.
Hard.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you like World War One, I think that would be really fun because there's some dark magic and things happening in that setting. It's pretty cool. Kind of a
Okay, so
corruption.
it's like an alternate reality World War
Yes.
One.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like a corruption. Like the war went on long enough that like this kind of chaos invaded the battlefield, and so that kind of like there's this outbreaks of this like dark magic, and so some people have learned to control it. But basically, it's called Never Going Home because yeah, you're never going to leave there. You're going to go crazy. Like the mechanics, like you'll probably go mad and just wander away. With a broken mind. Kind of very uh, Call of Cthulhu, yeah, style.
Existential. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have to. Yeah, it's got good art too, so I'll have to. It'll work well on the tabletop. I'll have to bug you guys about trying that out. Maybe that'll be our first Patreon only video. Oh man, excellent. Abyss says sounds like heresy. Yeah, yeah. Very, very interesting game system, and they've been supporting it quite a bit. There's a bunch of new material for it.
That's basically the context of Twilight 2000, but they say the truth up front. Like
Oh yeah,
in
right.
Twilight, in Twilight 2000, you're supposed to be playing characters who think they're gonna go home,
Right, right.
but you're not.
Yeah, this can't last forever, can it?
Yeah,
There's something good at the end of this road.
right.
Nice. Well, excellent. Well, thanks so much, Matt. This was much more fun than me reading down a list of not the best, not the best stories. I can't believe I forgot about the Pathfinder bundle, so I'll hit that up for next time. But yeah, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow, so we'll do some more John Carter.
Oh yeah, more John
Yeah,
Carter
yeah,
tomorrow night.
yeah. So that should be good. And yeah, we're at a quite a cliffhanger, so we'll see where things go from here.
I do like how it's every time we play, it seems to end on a point where the next week I'm just thinking about, oh man, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?
Right. Yeah, and I like that John Carter nothing. Yeah, the scale of obstacles and things, nothing seems insurmountable. Like it's like, yeah, we could probably get away with that because you guys have already pulled off some pretty amazing, amazing
Yeah.
capers. So yeah,
Think of some crazy shit and roll some dice. That's how all RPGs should be.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that pulp part of it is very good. All right. Well, good. Well, we'll be back again next week to do this. And thank you so much to all the patrons and everyone supporting the stream because you're hearing this. And if you're watching live, thank you also. And the YouTube members as well. Thank you for being members and making all of this possible. So, yeah, we'll be in touch, Matt, and hopefully have some more fun in the on the dying world of Barsoom.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thanks for joining us. See you again. Goodbye.